Another important concept that I work with my clients about is the concept of reality. And although that sounds kind of strange, it really is about who am I authentic, and what is my sense of self? Now, from childhood trauma, many of us detach from our sense of who we are. And so that's what reality speaks to. So how do I know who I am? It comes from my sensory organs, which are my eyes and my ears, and what I taste or see, and I bring in information and I'll have a thought about it, or what I call how I give meaning to what I see or hear going on. Once I have a thought, I go from the thought to I'm going to have some emotion, and then the emotion or feeling in my body will be a sensation. So this is how I create my sense of self. Now, what's really important is childhood trauma will detach people from their bodies. So they may only be bringing information in and having thoughts about it, and sometimes they're pervasive thoughts. So they detach from the bodily sensations and from the emotions because it's actually a way of protecting themselves. So part of working with any client is learning how to start attaching them to that whole process. So what I have my clients do is when they have a thought about something and when they see something happening in their life, I have them talk about what they're thinking, what the emotion is that they're having about it, and how it shows up or what the sensation is in their body. And that way we're working all the way from the mind all the way into the body. And that takes time for that to happen. And what's really important about that is that it creates then a whole sense of self. I become more authentic because now I have the ability to use my identifying emotions and the sensations in my body as another compass that gives me more information about what's going on in the moment. Now, this is where it gets tricky. So sometimes these emotions and body sensations and thoughts can be emotional states from the historical past. Now let me explain that a little bit further. So the nature of trauma is that when we are going through it in childhood, it creates an adaptive emotional state. And that emotional state still stays with us as we grow into adulthood. And so I can be in my adult life and I can be talking to my husband and we get into a fight and I start screaming and yelling. And it's not my usual functional self. It's really about some place in me that feels very historical from the past, repeating the same behaviors, the same feelings of what might have happened to me. And that's why reality becomes very tricky. So the last piece that I ask my clients when they're working, when they see something and they bring the information in, then I have them say, what are the thoughts that go with that? What are you making up? What are the emotions that you're feeling? And then where is it in the body? What sensations are you feeling? And the last thing I have them do is to ask themselves, how old does this feel? Now, many times I have clients that say to me, oh, it feels like my current age of 48. Well, that's somewhat true, and I challenge them to really see if they can go back to some of the very beginnings of from 0 to 18 to figure out where they might have been starting to feel this way in these kinds of scenarios. So this is the art of creating the sense of self, which is becoming authentic and real. The last piece that's really important about creating your own sense of self or reality is, again, the boundary practice. Because every time I'm using my protective boundary and someone's giving me feedback about something, I'm saying that's true, that's who I know myself to be, or it's not true. And it goes over my head like water off a duck's back. That is also another essential way to start creating an authentic sense of self. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to challenging you to have this practice also in your daily life and see what gifts come out of that.